Hello, hello. Looks like we're live. Yes, yes. Yeah, I can see the clock ticking. All right. Hey, Marty, Buckskin NYB is here. Yes, yes. Okay. So let's see. I'm going to nap some stuff I started last time. Like this one here seems to be good quality. Hey, Jeff Baird, Alina Sundragon, Tommy Taylor. Awesome. Hello, hello. Very nice. It went live with the first attempt this time. Yeah, very unusual. Hopefully, that's a good sign that everything will go perfectly good. No mistakes, no step fractures, no bad snaps on the napping. Right, right. So I've got some smaller boppers this time. I didn't have all the boppers last time. Yeah. I'm going to peck and grind this railroad rock into a hammerstone because it's very heavy and it doesn't wear down very easily. So I'm going to try to make a hammerstone out of this by pecking and grinding it. Tommy Taylor, Ralph Snyder's here. Marty says, I've been emailing Jim about the trade. Hopefully I can get into napping some obsidian soon. This knife river sure eats up my tools. Yeah. And I'm going to send you a small flat rake box of obsidian too. JF Baird. What was that hornstone? Was that hornstone? No, this is not hornstone. This is Texas road rock. It's like an amoeba chert. That's what it reminds me of. It's got that same glossy, waxy feel to it. So it might be an amoeba chert. It's hard to tell when it's this size because it looks like every other type of chert. All I know is it naps. That's the most important thing. Yeah. Does it nap? Yes. Then it's good. What kind of rock is it? Good rock. Yeah. That's all you need to know. Good rock. You got to test it out in the field. Is something is good or it's not good? Let's see. Styly Designs is here. Let's see who else is showing up. Maybe you'll be blessed with good fortune. Yeah, I always hope for that. Yes, yes. All right, let me see if my microphone's in the right position here. See, I gotta arrange it to be that way so it doesn't bump into anything and I don't puff into it. Mm-hmm. You going to your corner now because I don't concern myself with the type of stone that I'm napping. I just know that if it naps, it's good. Yeah, I don't really care. People send me stone, and they used to. Well, I used to ask, could you label it and stuff, and then they labeled it and everything, and I got a lot of information on different kinds of stone. And then guess what? I can't remember it all. And sometimes they send me some stuff that is supposedly good, and it's like compared to what? Compared to like railroad gravel? Compared to what? And they said, well, I didn't know it wasn't any good because that's all I got. Ah, there you go. Well, go to a nap in and see what flakes you can gather from good stuff. Ask around what's good, and then save those flakes. So if you have a doubt later as to what's good, you nap a little bit of it. Ah, now I remember what's good. And then you go out and you test it in the field. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what people ask you what it is. Just tell them, Sometimes it naps good, sometimes it doesn't. So you call them nap good stone and not nap good stone. Smallzilla's here. Harley is in the house. Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Got any magic material for us today? Yeah, it's all magic and mysterious. Magical and mysterious. Magic and mysterious. Yeah. Oh yeah. My sister watched one of my videos, right? And she goes, "What's that little lamp?" I said, "That's Mr. Piggles, right?" And she goes, "Really?" She gave me that look. Really? Like maybe I should name it something else. Yeah, she thought that was funny. Well, funny in a strange kind of way, looking at me. What do you got going on there? Let's see. Ralph says, Patrick, I'm glad you enjoyed the Canada geese. Canadian geese. Oh, yeah. Ralph sent me a video of the Canadian geese marching to the sound of the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack. I have to admit, I've never seen that combination before. JF Baird says, "Oh, I agree. If it naps, it's good. It's good." Yeah. Let's see. Scott Lauer's here. Hello, hello. Let's see. Marty says, "What would be the size of rock to be considered for percussion napping?" I wasn't sure what he was asking for. Well, it depends. If it's a slab, it's got to be at least 3/8 inches thick, right? But for percussion napping, 3 inches to 6 inches is the usual, right? That's the usual range. That's not extremely expensive or extremely rare. Any pieces above 6 inches long or whatever is rare. Anything under 3 inches, or under 3 inches, like 2 7/8 and smaller, getting that small, it's hard to use percussion on it. So I use indirect percussion, not just regular percussion. Although some guys will use regular billet and bopper percussion on little bitty things. It's up to you. Smallzilla says, "We love Mr. Piggles. He's cheering you on while you chip away." Yeah. I just got to call him something else. Maybe Mr. Fat Butt or something like that. It still sounds kind of funny. Anyway. Jim Cooper's here. Hey. Let's see. I'm waiting for a few more people, I guess. We only got 17 watching. But yeah, I'll start napping. What the heck? Yeah. Oh, in case you're new, since this is the middle of the day, I get a lot of new guys during the Wednesday napping. You're at work watching the napping. My name is Patrick. The channel name is Jack Crafty. But yeah, you can call me Jack if you want. I have lots of videos. You think I might have covered something? Just search for Jack Crafty and then whatever you're searching for. It's mainly about napping, but I got some arrow videos, stuff like that. Don't ask me to remember specific stones. I've had people ask me a lot about what is that stone exactly, and I try to answer, but I've had so many instances where I've answered it and they found it and they napped it and they go, "It didn't do it. You told me it would do it, and it looks like what you have, but it didn't do it." And I said, "Where'd you get it?" "Well, I got it from somewhere near where you got it." Where'd you get it from? From a business establishment. I said, "You probably got bull rock. It looks just like this." West Bull Rock. Okay. Go to a landscape yard and ask for bull rock. This is if you're in Texas, or I think they call it bull gravel, or surrounding areas. I think Louisiana also calls it that. maybe New Mexico calls it that. I'm not sure, but even if I tell you and show you how it looks and where to find it, a lot of times you're not going to match what I tell you, and it's not going to be what I tell you it is, either because I'm wrong or the stone that you got looks just like what I told you, but it's not the same kind of stone. It just looks the same. Hey, Polio Lit is here. He's from Poland. I got to call you. Yes, I do. I haven't forgotten. Let's see. Everyone say hi to everybody. Yes, yes. Smallzilla asks me, I should 3D print a couple more pigs for you, Patrick. Then you could go along with the 3 pigs fairy tale, though I don't think those pigs had names. No, I don't think they did. Not in the story, anyway. Hey, Prairie Ghost Ken is here. Ken says, hey, Pat and chat. I'm just about to head out to a fiddle banjo performance, but coming home to nap after. Catch you soon. All right, catch you soon. Scott Lauer says 26 degrees centigrade at the moment. Tommy, it was hotter earlier today. That is kind of hot for you guys. Ralph says, hey, Harley, 3D pigs sound cool for Patrick. Yeah. I can't be without Mr. Fat Butt or Mr. Piggles. Yeah. He's been with us, the live stream, since the beginning. All right, so this it's got a nasty area right there, but other than that, I can probably get some sweet flakes off of this. And then come up with a little biface. Yeah, but these are just small. I think these are probably good for flint and steel kits. Some of this road rock. Yeah, it's good for that. Lots of good sparks. Okay. Where did I get this? A subscriber made that for me. Hand forged out of, I don't know, special steel. Yeah. It's the sparky type of steel. I don't know. I could probably figure out what it's called and the carbon content and all that, but I'm not going to do it. Nope. No, it's just a waste of time. Let's get this nasty areas off of there. Let's try a bigger bopper. That way I might be able to just crack it in half. Lengthwise, not crosswise. Okay? All right. Where's Red Eyed Patriot? I'm going to make him the moderator today. Oh, yeah. We should get a skunk little statue. I should put up a skunk in here. Yeah. That's a good idea, Alina. I need a gray fox, a skunk, and possum maybe. Although I haven't seen any possums at all. But I did see the fox last night. It didn't eat anything. I was too scared. I was sitting out on the porch, actually. So it circled around the front and then went, whoa, what's that on the porch? I didn't move at all. And he's like, that's a little sketchy. So it took off. But the skunk was sitting there. There were 2 skunks just sitting there. And they weren't even eating. They were just laying in the grass. And I think it's because it's been very hot. They're just kind of laying in the grass going, it's so hot today. And then they would eat a little bit. But I think skunks will not like hot weather, or they don't like hot weather. Because they were acting all sluggish and like, I don't know if I want to get up and move around. So it might have been too hot for them. It got up to 96 or something yesterday. It's not as hot today. This is it's too thin to crack in half lengthwise. I just tried it. It didn't work. So yeah, I'll get little figurines of the different animals. Yeah. I don't know where the possums went. Either that or they don't want to be seen, so they come out at after 2 a.m. I'm usually not up after that. Sometimes I can't sleep, so I'm awake until 2 or 3 a.m. But usually I'm just laying in bed. I don't get up and walk around and do stuff or check outside at that hour. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe the possums got scared by the fox. The presence of the foxes caused them to move on. Yeah. So this is high grade material. So I'm going to continue napping this because I think the results are going to be good. Let's see here. Fox 3 from the UK. Have I seen you before? Silly question, perhaps, Pat, but what do you do with all the waste chippings? Greets from England. The waste chippings, all of it? Well, I separate it. Like, I've been calling these sweet flakes. But normally what I do is I save flakes that are like 1.5 inches or larger for future arrowheads. And then the rest I call crud flakes. This can be a sweet flake, but it's kind of small. The rest are crud flakes, what I call crud, C-R-U-D. Crud flakes. Those go to the landfill. Yeah, I just stick them in the regular trash. I bag them up, throw them in the regular trash, and they go into the landfill. Here that we have to separate our trash here in Vermont because they do a lot of recycling, and it's actually a good deal. If you recycle a lot, you don't have to pay for using the dump. Here we have to pay for using the dump, so it costs me like $2 for every I guess it's a 30-gallon black plastic bag, 30-gallon or 32-gallon or 33-gallon. I don't know what it is, but it costs me like $2 to dump it. That's where these things go in, to the regular landfill bag. And sometimes I'll bag up or box up these flakes, sweet flakes, or some of these small crud flakes, but they can still be utilized by new nappers, and I'll send off a box to a new napper. But I have not been doing that lately. I'm saving a bunch of these smaller ones for myself for using as tools to scrape wood and to make arrows. I'm going to be making arrows on video soon using stone tools as soon as I can get my act together. Yeah. Let's see here. Jim Cooper says, I think the value in knowing what a stone is and how it is formed is a huge asset in finding new sources of rock. Maybe. I did a lot of research in the beginning. I looked at geologists' studies or geological maps. And also when I came here to Vermont, I looked at a lot of geological maps because they have a lot actually here. Easily accessible as far as the maps go. I've never had success finding rock by a map. No, not even the map of Texas that shows Edwards Plateau, Uvalde Gravels, and other things in Texas. I've never been able to find it with a map. The only way I found stuff so far, two main ways. One, driving around for hours and hours and hours and hours, and then by luck finding some, and it's not even on the map. And number two, go to Knapping's and ask where they get their stuff. Or can you get me some of that? If you don't want to tell me where you got it, that's fine. But do you have anything extra? or stuff that you don't want to deal with, like smaller stuff. That's how I find rock. And I don't even ask what it is. I don't care what it is. Whether I find it myself or someone gives it to me or I buy it, I don't care what it's called. I do with a little chipping. This is me, okay? Jim says it's useful to know what it's called and where to find it. Yeah, but it's useful somehow that is not useful for me. I've never found it useful to know exactly what something is called. I've never found it useful. Actually, I found it detrimental to my success at finding rocks. Yeah, because I thought that sometimes, see, I went to one area where there's a bunch of gravel. There's erosion at this park. It was a park in Texas, public park, and one of the banks of this small or this stream that went through the park is eroded a lot, and I saw a bunch of gravels. And I went down in there, and there was some flint and chert, but I was only looking for a specific color, and so I found small chunks of this specific color, and I said, "This is the best stuff. It's like the root beerish looking stuff." So I passed over 90% of stuff that was better than the root beerish stuff I was looking for, that I was thought that was the best stuff. Because I did find root beerish looking stuff within the gravels, but there was other stuff that looked like this, but more purplish, and I figured that wasn't any good. I went back. I learned my lesson. The next time I went back, I collected all this stuff that could remotely be nappable, tested it. Okay, it's good, and took it all, even though there were small pieces only. And I found out that the stuff I was looking for that someone told me was the best stuff was actually on the lower end of the quality that was there at that site. Okay. So in that instance, when I first started, it didn't help me at all. I had to learn my rule. I developed my rule later on, I guess. Bring it all home and test it out. That's it. Bring everything home. Everything. Well, find out if it's nappable first by chipping on it, and then bring it home and then label it as high quality raw or needs heat, or if it doesn't have any marks at all, it's crud basically, but it can be napped. That kind of thing. And then once I heat treat, I put the heat treated at the temperature for that rock, so that I know for future that that's about the temperature range. Although I never go by my notes on what it was heat treated to, because different rocks respond differently to heat. Even though let's say these two pieces came off the same nodule and they need heat, this one will heat and become nice at one temperature, and this one will heat and become nice at a totally different temperature, depending on the consistency of the rocks. Sometimes one part of the rock is very, very inconsistent, and the other part is slick and naps well and very consistent. The other one is dull and grainy. They'll heat treat at different temperatures. Okay, that's the obvious difference. The other thing is sometimes they look exactly the same, but you put them in at the same temperature and one will blow up and one won't. So one obviously was too hot. It heated too high. In most cases, that's what that means. So even if it looks the same, it's the same kind of rock from the same nodule, you put it the same heat. If I follow my formula from some other batch, I have ended up with broken and then not broken. So everything is experimental for me. I'm just letting you know what helped me. Knowing the type of rock has never helped me. Knowing the exact temperature has never helped me. And knowing what someone else says is good hasn't helped me either. Okay, that's enough of that rant. But yeah, some people they cannot function unless they know what it's called, which is fine. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I just don't do it. Let's see here. Uh, Polio Lit says, "Hello, Patrick. Is IT to something something wish happy napping? I have 20 p.m. now. Is it too rude to wish happy napping? No, it's not too rude. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, I've already read those. I need to catch up with the chat here. Hold on. Polio Lit says, "I have a nice day, everybody. All right, we'll see you. It's like 8 o'clock where he's at. 8 p.m. Let's see. Tim Cooper says, high carbon steel works for the, I'm assuming for the flint and steel. Yeah. High carbon steel. Any high carbon steel. Or a cat. Yeah, I need to put a cat here too, a little cat figurine to represent uh, Louise. All right, let's see. Smallzilla or Harley says, I definitely think there is a package from me in the near future, Patrick. I might even try and make something so that you can use those signs again. Make something better than the cardboard box. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Fox 3 from the UK. There are other guys in the chat right now from the UK. Scott Lowers from the UK. Yep. He's here. He said hi. Um, so, yeah. They're actually, Scott and David, right, are napping now in the UK. They know each other now. I mean, they've gotten together. Uh, so maybe you can join in on the napping. Rob Sefton. Yeah, I've wondered what you'd sell a bulk amount of your debitage for. Well, if it's not that good, I just sell it for the amount of shipping. I'll just box it together and send it out just for the cost of shipping, which is about $26 for a medium box, $28 for a medium. I don't remember what. No, it's $17 or something for a medium and 28 something for a large flat rate box from the post office. But send me an email to jackcrafty2@gmail.com and ask me about if I have some stone that's debitage that I can send out. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. Yeah, crud flakes and crap flakes, it looks like they might be good, but it's actually difficult to nap small flakes uh, of this size, especially if they're curved. It's much easier even for a new guy to nap the medium size ones like this. It's actually an advanced skill to make arrowheads out of very small flakes. Unless all you're doing is pressure flaking, then yeah, it's a beginner skill. Yeah, I've got videos on heat treating. Yep. Polio Lit says, I've never done heat treating on flint. How do you do it? Yep, I've got videos on that. Yes. You can look it up on YouTube. The Flint Guy. I don't think I've seen you before. Checking rock beds is a really good way to find nappable material. Beds on the side of the street, hotels, and parks. My whole napping hobby at the moment relies on a single rock bed from a Costco. Yeah. But they get their rock from somewhere, right? So they go to a landscape yard, they order the rock for their landscaping. You can buy a yard of stone, what they call a yard, which is, I guess it's a 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 foot cube of rock. It's usually a scoop in a loader, right? Um, but yeah, they can sell it by the yard, and sometimes you can get that much stone for under $20 a yard, depending on with our pricing. Maybe it's even cheaper, $10 to $15 per yard of landscape rocks, where a lot of it is knappable. Now, if you don't have a way to transport that, what they might do is they can sell you a 5-gallon bucket full of rocks like this. You just bring your own bucket, and they'll charge you like, I don't know. They used to charge me $8 for a 5-gallon bucket of landscape stone, and you can knap some of that stuff. Rob Sefton says, "What is the absolutely most bizarre thing you have made from a knappable?" Most bizarre? I've never made anything bizarre from a knappable. No, I'm boring. Yeah. Let's see. What else is in here? What did I miss? I'm still trying to think of what was the most bizarre thing I've ever made from something knappable. Yeah, I'm pretty dull. I've only made arrowheads and stone tools, and the generic term arrowheads means anything that's like can be hafted. It could be a knife blade, a spear point, a tomahawk, or what they call a tomahawk head. I have made some of those just for people that want one, and at little dart points and true arrow points. I have made a few eccentrics, but people want like crosses. I've made crosses out of stone, like uh, like a church symbol cross is what I mean. Someone wanted me to make a shuriken or like a 5-pointed star or a 6-pointed star out of stone, but I said I'm not going to do that because it wastes way too much material. It would require a 6-inch diameter piece of stone to start out with, and that cost me a lot of money to get those, and it has to be perfect quality all the way through, because if you do a shuriken, which is a multi-point throwing star, everything has to be perfect, or one of the points is going to break. So it has to be perfectly consistent to actually enjoy knapping it. Otherwise, I'll be sitting there cheating, grinding down a lot of areas and trying to knap stuff that can't be napped through to try to get that. And I've napped, sets of arrowheads. What other eccentrics have I made? Hearts and pendant type stuff. People have wanted the heart shape, the crosses, the regular arrowheads. I've made shark tooth effigies out of stone that looks like actual shark's teeth. That's probably the closest to something bizarre, is making something that looks like a shark's tooth. The Flint guy says, people do ask, as it's hard not to look like a weirdo when you're doing it, but all find it cool once you tell them that what you're doing. Been doing it for years without any issue. Yeah. Alina says, I clean my walk paths around a city of glass shards, lots of bottle bottoms there, free stuff to find. Oh, yes. Trash makes good knapping material. In some cases. Yep. Yeah, if you go around picking up glass stuff from side of the road or from sidewalks, yeah. Jim Cooper says, let me put it this way. If I'm going on vacation with family, say camping near a new river, knowing what materials are called and how they're formed allows me to find out if conditions are right for, let's see, for the formation of lithic material and whether or not it's worth my time to go look for it. Yeah. I usually find that when I do that, it's a waste of my time. Yeah, I can pretty much guarantee that I'll be wasting my time if I use a map or geological information. I pretty much guarantee I'm going to waste my time. Now, so most of my rock discoveries are someone who knows where it is already, or it's luck. I don't depend on maps anymore. I'll be looking everywhere I go. It doesn't matter where I go. I'll look to see if there's nappable stuff. That's the way I do it. Yeah. Like here in Vermont, where I am, I've already checked everything out nearby that I go to. I can find quartzite. I can find argillite. Those two were used by Native Americans to make projectile points and knives here in this area. But unless I talk to Jay Valente, I'm not going to go looking for the good stuff in Vermont. He knows where to find it, and he can direct me uh, to where it is. We can find stuff that's like this size or smaller. Here in Vermont, you can find pieces of good quality chert in this size, which is like less than 2 inches long, near Lake Champlain and areas like that. But unless I have a contact, I'm not going to go looking because the geological maps say it's there too. But if I look at the map and then look at where Jay told me that it exists, they don't match up. Not exactly. Let's see. So I'm just letting you know what the way the way that or the experiences I've had, because I have interacted with many people on the subject of where to find rocks, because that was like the number one question. They don't ask that too much anymore these days, maybe because I discouraged them. But I hardly ever get asked that question anymore. But like every week when I first started making videos, where do I find the rock? What's it called exactly? Where do I get the maps? Where do I find videos on how to look at stuff through Google Maps? The street views. How do I get good at looking at street views and that kind of stuff? There was one guy that I met that would find, or he would pre-explore using the street view in Google Maps, and he says that he was able to locate some deposits that way by previewing it with Google Maps on a street view. But he would spend hours, literally hours and hours looking at Google Maps on Street View in areas that he thought might contain the the nappable materials. Now, if you have time, like 3 or 4 hours a day for months, like he was doing, then yeah, you could probably find some rock deposits and then go check it out. But then there's a driving component. There's the gas. You may or may not be able to locate exactly what you're looking for, right? You might find something similar. You might just say, "Oh, you get all excited about a rock in that area, a rock type." And you go, you nap a little bit, and one piece is good, and so you take it all without testing it all. You just say, "Oh, anything that looks just like this, I'll just take it." Yeah, you nap one piece and it's good. Oh, anything that looks like that, you'll take it home, and you'll find out that unless you test it, it's all crud. I know guys that done that before, and I've done that before too. Just take it. I don't have much time, so let me just take it without testing it. That's the first mistake, and the second mistake is depending on just generalized information. Okay. Scott says not all flint needs heat treating. That is true. If you look like a Let's see. Alina says if you look like a weirdo, but you get what you need, you are a clever weirdo. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Let's see. Jim Cooper says the information of lithic material and whether or not it's okay. I read that already. I already read that. Randall McIntosh. Hello, hello. I don't recognize you. Hey, Patrick, I'm out in Oregon. Sent you the pictures. Okay. Of the northern side notch points a while back. Okay. You do a fine job at making them. All right. Thanks. Thanks. Why don't I recognize you? Probably because I don't remember stuff. I apologize. Rob Sefton, make drills and all kinds of stuff with those. Yeah. Yeah, with long, narrow pieces, you can make drills. Let's see. Rob says you should get a Nobel Prize, a Peace Prize for rescuing and repurposing rock for the good of all mankind. Yeah, but see, the rocks don't want to be tools or arrowheads. They don't like it. So, we're torturing the stones. Ralph says the chunky crud flakes are great for making marbles. Oh yeah, good for aquarium stones. Also, Scott Scott says I found the bullhead by chipping and testing rocks. I'm always testing rocks everywhere I go. People think I'm crazy. Yeah, that you will get that a lot. Polio lit says when we'll have a chance when we'll have a call, we can discuss a gift box from Polish Flint. Yay! Rob says, "Oh, Polish Flint is beautiful stuff. I'd love to get a bunch of that stuff." Yeah, everybody does. Everybody will love to get a bunch of that. Ralph says, "You're not any more nuts than the rest of us peanuts, Scott." Yeah. Mike Hassenstab. Mike Hassenstab, Southern Indiana. Hornstone found everywhere. I found a times 10 pit BD peanut once. I don't know what that is. Had it slabbed. Slices were 9 inches long. Well, dang, where are you located? You can make some serious money with that stuff. I'm sure he already knows. South Baltic flint is poor quality, lots of limestone. Better is Polish inner country flint, says Poliolit. Very good to know. Yes, yes. Rob says, have you? Okay, Rob says, you have to speak with the rock and ask if it's okay. And then they will only give you what it wants to give you or wants you to have. Yeah, yeah. Yep. But it doesn't want anything. It doesn't want to be disturbed. It doesn't want to cooperate. It doesn't want you to ask permission. It doesn't want anything. No. Ferdo Joe is here. Bushy. Smallzilla. I seen your glass pile photo. Thought you were on my land in my old dump. I have lots of that glass to get. Go get all you want. Yeah. Rob says, I'm in northern Indiana and there's no good stuff up here except the occasional small stuff, and it's almost all freeze cracked. There you go. You got to talk to Mike Hassenstab. He's in southern Indiana. You need to go to southern Indiana. I've been to Indianapolis and the surrounding areas, and at that time I had not been Flintknapping, or I hadn't started Flintknapping yet. And when I look back, I don't think there was anything near Indianapolis as far as nappable stuff. Smallzilla asks me a question for you, Patrick. If I'm going to be making a point cache project, would it be best to do all the preforms before the points, and then pressure flake them in one batch? Trying to do it efficiently. Yeah, the most efficient way is to do it in stages. Spall it all first, then biface it all, and then do the final finishing. Yeah, that's the most efficient way. If you do it one at a time, it might be more interesting, but it takes forever. Let's see. Let's see here. Jim Cooper says, most people think I'm trying to start a flint and steel style when they see me testing rock and try to tell me it's steel I need. Try to tell me it's steel I need with a rock and not two rocks for that to work. I see. Hey, Red-Eyed Patriot's here. Michael's here. I'm going to make him the moderator just in case we get some weirdos in here. Right? Let's see. Click on that one. Okay, and then add as moderator. All right, so there's managing moderator and standard moderator. Can manage blocked words and chat, change chat modes in live, and also has capability of standard moderators. I think the standard, okay, standard, there you go. You are now the standard moderator. Thanks for that, Mike. Mike Tufts is here. Patrick, the 2 large size boppers are in the mail headed your way. Sweet, awesome. Bushy says, Smallzilla, I was on my land a few weeks ago. I got 3 thick bottom liquid bottles and made 3 nice points. 2 green and 1 brown. Awesome. Yeah, Mike has the power now. So you got to behave. Yep. Let's see. Smallzilla says, Frodo Joe, yeah, I am quite lucky with that. It's some good stuff. I got to clean up. Only went for a colored glass. Should be able to get some beauties. Cool. Rob says, yeah, I will do that. The guy from Kentucky Flintworks said Indiana hornstone is some of the best hornstone on the planet. It is. Yes. Indiana hornstone is very nice. I mean, it can grade into some of the best stone. I used to say that if I had nothing but hornstone, I'd be happy. But then I found out there's different grades of it. So you got to be picky. But yeah, the best hornstone is probably like the best stone you could ever get. It's better than Georgetown Flint. A lot of people say Georgetown Flint is the best, but that's even more variable than hornstone. Yeah, the best Georgetown Flint compared to the best hornstone still wins. Yeah. Let's see. Ralph says, Mike's been on a southern Indiana stream full of hornstone. Oh, Mike, I've been on a southern Indiana stream full of hornstone. I had to slap myself. Couldn't believe no amount there. Or the amount there. Right? Smallzilla, I was on my land a few weeks ago. I got 3 thick. Okay, I read that one already. Let's see. Mike Tufts asks, has anyone napped 3/4-inch porcelain tile yet? Or porcelain tile yet? I didn't know they made 3/4-inch porcelain tile. The Flint guy is here. It's Smallzilla, the official napping subreddit moderator. I'm Flimsy Pipe, right? The Folsom guy who posts there. It's awesome seeing you here. Yay. Mike Tufts, you bring that dragonfly with you today? Tommy Taylor says. Let's see. Mike says, hey, Harley, I had to pick up 2 copper caps yesterday, the larger size one for you and one for Alan. I'll try to send them to get them out by the weekend. Cool. Jim Cooper says, now that there's a mod, they can authorize sharing links to get in touch with each other. Yes. So now we can see everybody's YouTube channel links and stuff, right? There we go. Michael's already posting. Anyone not subscribed to Smallzilla, click and subscribe at that address. Anyone not subscribed to Smalls? Okay, he has it on that twice. Mike Tuff says my dog ended up eating the dragonfly. Talking about the clip-on dragonflies you can clip onto your hat, and they're pretend dragonflies to scare away bugs and stuff. So yeah, howdy. Everyone says, say hi to everybody. Okay. Jim Cooper says, I saw a news article headline that made me laugh so hard I couldn't breathe. Ahem. Noah's Ark theme park destroyed by flood. I may have peed a little from laughing at that level of irony. Yeah, Noah's Ark theme park destroyed by flood. Smallzilla says, sounds good, Mike. No worries. I'll snag some pictures of the broken tool for sometime this weekend. Let's see. I'm looking for questions mainly. If I skip your comment, I apologize. I'm looking mainly for questions and stuff. Let's see. Ralph says, yes, the amount of hornstone was dead insane there, talking about a stream in southern Indiana. Every rock was hornstone. That'd be awesome. Frodo Joe or Bushy or Harold, Smallzilla just looked on your box of rocks. Craig is a friend of mine. Interesting. Mike Tuff says, Harley, I don't want to see a picture of my broken tool. Yeah, we're going to abuse. See, these boppers I'm using lately are all Mike Tuff's boppers. I'm abusing them on purpose. Yeah. And I did. I ruined a couple. The 14-ounce bopper I've been using quite a bit is holding up, but you can see it's kind of detaching itself from the wood. There's already like a 16th of an inch gap. And it's not loose or anything. It just keeps creeping up a little bit by little bit. I guess it's because when this deforms, it moves upward. Let's see here. What did I miss? Sal's page. Yeah. Red Eyed Patriot is putting up links to people's YouTube channels. Gonna try to post my link tree. Can I get authorized? Patriot? Yeah, get with Mike and try to get the link to your to my link tree, to your link tree. Yeah. Styly Design says, thanks for the links. I just subscribed to both. Awesome. Rob Sefton says, have you ever napped bone? Yes, I have napped. I've tried to nap bone. It doesn't nap that well. What's the most nappable bone that I've found so far? The most nappable is pig bone that I've found so far. But it doesn't nap well. No. It's much easier and smarter if you grind the bone. Frodo Joe says, what size is your best all-around bopper? 9 ounces. The best all-around bopper is 9-ounce bopper. Mike Tuff says, I sent some pictures to you, Patrick, that tile, but I don't know if you can access it during the live stream. I might be able to. I've got a brand new phone now with a separate phone line. So that I can access stuff like that. Let's see. Let me see if I got a picture. I got a message. I mean, I heard the tone that I got a message, but I don't see. Bushy, you sent me something? Who sent me it? Mike Tufts? No. Who sent me the... let's see. Mike Mason's channel is now... There's a link to it now. Okay, Mike Tufts. I sent you some pictures to you of that tile, but I don't know if you can access it. I don't see any recent Mike Tufts pictures unless you sent it by Instagram. Then I won't be able to see it at all on this phone. I don't have Instagram on this phone. This is a minimized to only emails and YouTube, so that I can shoot videos on here and upload from here. This is my new video phone because I don't have to hook up an external microphone to get it to work. My old phone, which is videoing this live stream, I have to set up attach an external microphone to that phone in order to get it to work, because the built-in microphone with my original phone is shot. Doesn't work at all. I mean, it works to add static to the video because all you hear is so that works great. Let's see. Scott Lauer says, I got to go out for a while. Hope to get back for the end. Yeah. Get back soon. So if Mike Tufts, if you sent me pictures through Instagram, I'm not going to be able to see them yet, or I won't be able to access them from this phone. I'm not going to put Instagram on this phone. I'm having a hard enough time as it is, where this is beeping and sending me messages, or even if I turn off all the sounds, which I am going to do, even the little message thing on the top gets me annoyed. I'll look at it, it'll brighten up and it'll show a little message up on the top, and it distracts me, and it'll do the same on my other phone. It's just one of my things that annoys me especially when I'm trying to be in a zone doing something and I see messages, or I see my phone's doing stuff by itself. It drives me nuts. So I got to turn these things over. If I put these things down, I got to turn them over so I don't see the little flash across the top of the screen. I know it's weird, but it just bugs me. Okay, let's see. You don't need to tell us all that. Just do napping. Stop with the chat and do the nap. No chat, do nap. I know. I hear you. I know I'm supposed to be napping, but I don't want to. Let's see. Rob Sefton says, I grind it and then nap the edge. Oh, I see. You nap the edge of the bone after grinding the bone down. Yeah, you can do that. It just leaves kind of a jaggedy edge. I don't really like the jaggedy edge. I like the smooth, ground down edge on bone. And bone knives work actually really well as long as the meat is cooled, not frozen. If the meat is cooled and dried, but not too dry and not too cool, you can slice it easily with a bone knife. I was surprised at how well bone knives will work under certain conditions. But the meat can't be too, it can't contain too much water, because the longer you use a bone knife, the softer the edge gets. So it starts to diminish its ability to cut well, because the water in the meat will, get into the bone and make it a little slightly softer. But if it's cooler and it's drier, it doesn't have that effect as fast. How do I know these things? I don't know. Mike Tuff says, well, I hate to add any more hardener to the lead, but that may be an option for the larger size to make it harder. Yep. Do it. And we'll be your guinea pigs and experiment with it. Okay, Mike says, I sent you the text message with pictures attached. Yeah, but this is a different phone number on this phone. So even if you sent it with text, it only shows up on that phone. Yeah, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is a totally different phone number. And no one knows this phone number at all. And I love it. Let's see. Let me get closer. Oh, this is getting... let's see. Because there's questions coming up. I want to answer the questions. Red-Eyed Patriot says, Jim Cooper, I have have to be able to copy and paste your link tree to be able to share it in the chat. Yeah, so Jim Cooper, send a message to Red Eyed Patriot by email that has your link, and then you can copy paste. Right? Do you guys have each other's emails? I have the ability to, if you give me permission, I can send people emails from this phone because I got it set up for my email and for YouTube. So if you give me, like, if you tell me, send me Jim Cooper's email, or vice versa, I can do that. Rob Sefton says, "Hey, what kind of wood is best for knapping, and what types of knapping can be done with it, like direct, indirect?" No wood is good. That's the rule. No wood is good for knapping. For knapping, no wood is good. Now, what have I used in the past for knapping? Any wood that is heavier than water. Is there such a thing? Yeah. It's called specific gravity. And if you look on charts, engineering charts of wood, you'll see the specific gravity. It'll be by 0.70, 0.56, 0.42, 0.89. It has to be 1 or greater. 1.02, 1.16, whatever. It has to be 1 or greater. That means it's heavier than water. If you look on these charts, these wood properties charts. What woods are heavier than water? IPE, IPE. It can be heavier. Sometimes it's lighter. It's getting lighter as time goes on because all the old stuff that's really heavy has already been chopped down from the Amazon rainforest, or most of it anyway, or wherever Ipe has been harvested from. They've already taken out all the old growth. The new growth is not as heavy, but Ipe can be heavier than water. Lignum vitae, desert ironwood. Lignum vitae, there's another name for it, I forget. Ipe, the other name for it is Brazilian rosewood or something. I can't remember. Desert ironwood, I've said that one. And other types of ironwood. Ironwood is a general classification. So some people would put some types of hickory in there with ironwood. It's almost heavier than water. Let's see. Oak. Live oak is pretty heavy, but it's not heavier than water. Okay, so let me give you what I've used for knapping. I've used personally coco bolo, live oak, dogwood. I don't know what type it was. Hickory. I think it was shagbark hickory or pignut hickory. What did I use them for? For billets. I've tried knapping with wooden pressure flakers, and it can be done, but it's very tedious and it's a pain in the butt, basically, because the stone actually shapes the end of the flaker instead of the flaker shaping the end of the edge of the stone. So it's luck if you can get a good flake with a wooden pressure flaker. It's lucky because usually the stone is going to change the contour of the wood rather than the wood changing the contour of the stone. Same with a billet. The billet is supposed to change the contour of the stone, but it's usually the other way around. Usually you hit a good quality stone that's got good properties and you hit it with a piece of wood, a chunk of wood comes off and nothing happens to the stone. Okay? Now, there are instances where you can take off flakes with a wooden billet. I've seen that done before. And some stones react really well to that, especially like very hard stuff to knap, like rhyolites and quartzites. For some reason, you can take off fairly thin flakes. It has to do with the physics of the whole thing, and I don't know exactly what they are. But you can take off thin flakes off a really bad material like argillite also, and other materials like quartzite, and sometimes you can nap basalt like that and rhyolite with a wooden billet and remove thin flakes. And then when you get a thin flake off of that kind of material, you just nap around the edges and get a point or a knife. You don't have to thin it. I hope that answers that question. But the moral of the story is, for napping, wood is not good. It's never good for napping. Although some people would disagree with me. I hope they do, because that's what drives the conversation. If everyone just says, oh, yeah, okay, well, everyone's agreeable, sometimes what they agree on is not right. I'm not right all the time. Heck no. Let's see. Anyone else post videos that would like their links shared? Yeah. Tell Michael or Red Eyed Patriot if you'd like him to share your link. Yeah, Mike Tufts. Share Mike Tufts' link. Yeah. Mike Tufts sells boppers, and he's a master craftsman. He sent me a bunch of stuff as gifts. I still need to show some of that stuff. He sent me some wooden tops that he turned on a lathe. Those are really cool. Let's see. Ralph says, SD, I've got some bone needles, hairpins, and fish hooks I found on Ohio river sites. Wow. Awesome. You need to post pictures of those, Ralph. I can send it to you somewhere. Jim Cooper says, yeah. Okay. Let me go to the end of the chat. The Flint guy asks, but they have little shelf life as they wear super fast. Okay, that's a answer to a previous question. Let's see. Let me go back up. Ralph says ebony wood sinks, but it's very brittle. Okay, good to know. I've never used ebony for napping, but I believe it. Ironwood here is hop hornbeam, says Frodo Joe. Awesome. Hop hornbeam is actually pretty good for bows. I call it white ipe, because that's what it reminded me of, the hop hornbeam. Not hornbeam, because hornbeam's not that good. The hop hornbeam is really good for bows, I think. Rob Sefton says, I learned about those woods in engineering school. You went to engineering school? I went to engineering school for some time. I didn't graduate from engineering. I flunked out, and then I went back to school for drafting. And then I aced it. Yeah. Probably the best decision was to go to drafting school. My worst decision was to go to the most difficult engineering program that I could possibly go to. Yeah. Although now I'm thinking about it seriously, I could go back. I could do online courses for civil engineering. That was my original intent when I wanted to go to college back in the day, 30 years ago. I wanted to go for civil engineering, but someone convinced me, no, dude, go into architectural engineering, because that's a highly specialized field, and you get to work on bridges and all kinds of advanced concrete materials, and you can even get in with the Defense Department and that kind of stuff. So I said, okay, cool. So I switched from a 4-year program to a 6-year program, and man, I was in misery the whole time. They try to weed you out. Yeah. They don't care if you graduate. In fact, they don't want you to graduate. Yeah. Let's see here. What did I miss? Richard Cummings says, go to an aquarium shop and look through their ironwood to see if you can, if there's a piece you can use. An aquarium shop? That's interesting. Usually when I look at aquarium materials, I'm looking for hammerstones. Yeah. Yeah. Red-Eyed Patriot will post a link to whatever you want to post it to. I don't care at all. You can selflessly plug your business. You can do anything you want. You got music videos or whatever. Hey, I don't care. You have yourself playing banjo or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be related to Flintknapping. I think it's cool to have the interaction. Have everybody interacting with everybody's content. Persimmon is an ebony wood. Yeah, but persimmon for me, when I've used it, it's been too bouncy and too soft, in my experience. Ed Gould says, I've got some rock that seems to have been used for pressure flakers or indirect punching. I've used rock, especially rhyolite, in flakes like this. You just dull the tip, right, and you can use it for pressure flaking. But you can use regular flakes for pressure flaking too. It doesn't have to be a really tough stone. It just does wear out fast. You got to keep chipping it, and it's a dicey game. You know, sometimes the workpiece will chip the tool. Sometimes the chip will work. Sometimes the tool will chip the workpiece. But you can nap with pressure using a flake on another stone. Preferably, the stone you're using for the flaker is something like rhyolite or something that it doesn't nap very well, because you don't want to be napping your tool while you're trying to nap the workpiece. But yeah, I believe it. You probably have some artifacts that have been or that were used for napping stone. Stone artifacts that have been used for napping stone. Yes. Smallzilla asks, question for you, Patrick. Could you make a point using only stone? Yes. For every step, yes. My father has an old film reel movies from the 50s that's showing them using only rock. I was curious. Yeah, it can be done. In fact, it's not that hard, actually, to use only stone in all of your napping. Yeah. It can be done. And with good results, too. Let's see. Desert ironwood makes for a lovely pocket knife handles. Old timers use it a lot. Yes, yes. Ferdo Joe says, I use an old sauerkraut masher for my indirect banger. It lasted 4 years. Really? I've never heard of that. What is a sauerkraut masher? We have hop hornbeam in Michigan too. Yeah, hop hornbeam is good stuff. Rob says, you answered that perfectly. Okay, cool. I'm glad. The Flint guy, wood is good for only one thing from personal experience: indirect percussion billets. The harder the wood, the better. Fire treating helps and have to make sure it's dry. Stone equals no go. Glass is all go. Yeah, glass and obsidian can be napped with wood, pressure flakers and billets. But you're saying it's good for percussion billets, indirect percussion billets. Are you talking about the indirect percussion mallet or an actual billet to hit the stone with? Because you can use ironwood for mallets. I just don't recommend it because it's much better to use antler or ultra high molecular weight plastic. That's what this is, ultra high molecular weight plastic. Or if you still can't get enough energy, you use steel pipe or aluminum rods. Okay? Those are also work. You just get the ding sound, right? But you can apply shrink wrap tubing to the mallet to soften the sound or to get rid of that metal on metal sound or whatever you're getting. You can also wrap duct tape around it. Duct tape doesn't last long. Have you pressure flaked with stone? Asks Rob. Yes, I have. It works okay. Yep. It doesn't work great. There's a lot of crushing going on. Let's see here. Where am I? Let's see here. Okay, Tufts link. Mike Tufts, we have a link for you now up in the chat. Rob Sifton says, I ran out of money. Purdue was good many years ago. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I took out student loans for most of my education. I still owe money on my student loans. I was paying myself by working and going to school when I first started school in 1987. First started college in 1987. I was able to pay for my tuition with my part-time job. Plus, I got a couple grants, a Pell Grant type thing. Right? Yeah. And I had a small payment every month from the GI Bill because I was in the Army National Guard. But then I went to officer candidate school. I became an officer, and they took away my GI Bill because officers don't get that benefit. So then I got busier with my schoolwork because I transferred schools to the engineering school. My tuition went up. My homework load went up. I got married, and I had no time. So I had to get my, government guaranteed student loans. Yeah. But even back then, with I don't have that much in loans, but even back then, it still wasn't that expensive compared to how it is now. Man, now it's just ridiculous. To go to college, I recommend trade schools, and then from your trade you can save money, and if you want to go to college, just pay for it outright. Yeah, but if you go to electrician school or whatever, something like that, you can work for 10 years and then go pay for your college. If you save up enough money and don't get married and don't well, you can get married just as long as you marry someone that's good with money, knows how to save it. But yeah, it's hard to save money once you start having a family. Yeah, because instead of when you have a family, I know married guys, they know this, but if you don't have a family, you don't realize that it changes. Savings changes from being a good thing, like, ooh, you're very responsible, you're saving lots of money, to you got money set aside and we're suffering because of this and this and that, and we could have bought this a long time ago, and you've been hoarding money on the side. It changes. Your whole life changes when you have a family. Okay. Unless you're married to someone that knows how to save money, then that doesn't happen. I wish that would have been me. Let's see. Where am I? I don't know where I am on the chat. I lost track. Mike's Red Eyed Patriot's actually doing a good job with these links. It's fast. Mike Mason says, when I lived in Texas, I was and only stone napped. I wasn't good though. Oh, Flint guy says he meant mallets. Yeah, mallets for hitting while doing indirect percussion. You can use ironwood for these. I just don't recommend it. It wears out. It absorbs too much shock, that kind of thing. But you can use it. I mean, I've done that in the pinch Frodo Joe says my indirect mallet was hard maple and I retired it. Yeah, good idea. Red Eyed Patriot says I use an antler mallet and 10-inch steel spike for indirect. There you go. You can wrap tools with a hockey tape. Yes, that does last longer. Jeremy says I'm not far from the Ark encounter. What is that? Red-Eyed Patriot says I'm 100 miles due south of the Ark. Interesting. Ralph Snyder says, oh my God, Patrick, 1987 is when I graduated from high school. Yeah. 1987, I went to college, but I waited 5 years. No, 6 years. I graduated high school in 1981, and I didn't go to college right away. And what did I do? I spent 3 years, 81 to 84, just living in my room, doing odd jobs. I did have a restaurant job during that time, but I built little scale models and tried to explore my hobbies and finally enjoy life. I didn't like school. I didn't like high school. Elementary school was okay, but I hated high school. Anyway, we moved to Texas in 1984, and the first thing I did was I went to welding school. And I got a grant for that. And then I did get a welding job, but I hated it. I only worked there for a couple of weeks 2 or 3 weeks, and it was terrible. So then I joined the Army National Guard. Yeah. And the rest is history. The military, I do recommend it, but take it slow. Yeah. Unless you're a gung-ho person, I recommend it to my kids. If you're going to join the military, go Coast Guard or reserves of some sort. Don't go gung-ho into, frontline combat unit or anything like that. Go into something a little bit less intense, because it's the skills you learn when you're cooperating as a team that are going to be valuable in life. Using the weapons, repairing the machinery, maintaining the systems and all that is not useful outside. What's useful is to the teamwork, learning how to be part of a team. So you can take it easy. But none of my kids ever joined the military. I mean, most of them are still military age, but they got no interest. That's okay. I'm glad I did. It did change my life for the better in many ways. Frodo Joe is class of 75. Oh, dang. That's cool. Tommy Taylor, class of 77. Interesting. Mike Mason says, I found college to be a horrible experience in 04. I just quit. Yeah, for me, it was terrible as well. The subject matter was fine, but they only give you like 1/10 the amount of time to learn it. I wanted to absorb and learn it, not read and regurgitate. I mean, why would you need a human to do that? But apparently that's what's being done. Just read and regurgitate. And they have this whole mentality that don't worry about being logical. Don't worry about it making sense. Just read and regurgitate. It was different in math courses in physics, and math, physics, and chemistry were different. My other classes were all like indoctrination classes, basically the English, the history, the stuff like that. But the physics, math, and chemistry was straight science, which was okay. But still, it wasn't enjoyable because you only skim the surface. Yeah. And then to get deeper into the deeper into the science required a lot more prep work. You thought, I thought taking prerequisites would prep me for the advanced courses, but no. It's minimal preparation, basically. You've still got a ton of work to do when you get home, plus all the labs and stuff. Yeah. I slowly went down the tubes. It was slow. It wasn't like one semester I said, nah, that's it. No, my grades started suffering, and then they kept sliding down and down and down. And said, I've either got to change my major or just get out altogether. I changed my major to computer science, so I actually did change my major. I went one semester with nothing but computer science courses, and I was bored out of my mind. Holy moly! Yeah. Although if I had stayed in computer science, I would have made, graduating, I would have gotten already a six-figure income by the time I graduated. And that was back in the early 90s. When I left college, it was like 92 or something, 91, 92, 93, somewhere around in there. Yeah, I would have already I would have been making six figures at that time if I had stayed in computer science. Almost that much if I stayed in engineering. But you don't know. Hindsight is 2020. And yeah. Yeah, what is this arc, says Mike Mason. Yeah, that's my question. I've been moderating for channels since 2000 or 2020 I've been at it a long time, says Red Eyed Patriot or Michael. Let's see. Rob Sefton says, my favorite indirect is my Y sticks. What is a Y stick? Brennan here. Brennan is in the house. We were talking about Indiana Hornstone earlier, says Ralph to Brennan. Tommy Taylor says, Mike M., it's in Kentucky, an exact replica of the Ark. Okay. Let's see. Tommy Taylor says, I live about a couple hours south of it, but never been, maybe 3 hours. Okay, talking about the Ark. Okay. Mike Mason says, I live pretty close to Cahokia Mounds and wonder often why I have never been there. Yeah, what's up? Bill Taylor's class of 85. Mac Bales is here, class of 1969. Dang it. I feel young now. Bren says, yeah, I'm not close enough to Hornstone or have a contact to speak of. I wish I did. Yeah. Bill Taylor says, I worked at the sawmill that cut all the big timbers for the Ark in Monroe, Oregon. Tommy Taylor says, I live 20 minutes from the Casey Jones Museum, but never been. Don't ask me why, because I don't know. Jim Cooper says, okay, Red-Eyed, I'd figured out how to post my link tree to my YouTube so you can share that, but I don't make videos. Okay. Ralph says, I still don't know why Noah allowed cockroaches and mosquitoes onto the Ark. What's the point of saving them? Yeah. Maybe they can swim. And, I bet you there was a bunch of stuff floating on the water that, other animals can float on sticks and whatever. They weren't on the Ark. There you go. Ed Gould says, I quit high school in 1968 and worked all kinds of jobs and got married and had a son when I got drafted in 71. That rhymes. I got my GED in the Army out of the Army 74. It got out of in 74. They went directly to construction. I see. Mike Mason says, I was born in 85. Rob Sefton says, I cut the Y section out of a dry branch, drill a hole in the bottom part of the Y, tap in a 6-inch piece of copper rod. So, but the Y is stronger. That's why you put the rod into that end, right? Jim Cooper says the Ark is a creationist theme park touching. Yeah. Yep. Rob says I have enough. I leave enough out to hit the copper rod with a good length of elk beam. Okay, that's a good idea. All right, let's see. Mike Mason says, how many fish were saved in the Ark? Yeah. Don't need to save those guys. What is this? Tommy says, I lived about 35 minutes from Pinson Mound, south of Jackson, Tennessee. Only time I've been, we were paving the roads in the park. Jim says, born in 89. There you go. Mike Mason says, skeeters do swim in their larva stage. There you go. Yeah. Same with dragonflies and stuff too, right? Rob says, for a small diameter rod, I drill into a small chunk of white tail beam and haft it to the Y stick and hit the deer antler. I see. All right. So I caught up with the chat for now. Let's see if I can do some indirect percussion before the time is up. I've got 25 minutes before the end of the live stream. Yeah. Okay. So this is actually high grade stuff. As long as I avoid the chalky material within this. So if it's chalky, it means it's flint. Yes. Flint forms within chalk, and chert forms within limestone. They're almost the same thing, but chalk is much softer and finer grained. Yeah. All right. So can everybody see? No? If no one can see, that's the typical arrangement. Okay. And yeah, I feel sorry for those guys that were waiting for the knapping. You're waiting for the knapping forever. I'm never going to subscribe to any of these Flintknapping channels ever again. I have an unusual channel, okay? Don't go by what I'm doing as far as Flintknapping channels go. Yeah. Oh, I hit my microphone. Let's see, did I manage to mess it up? It has to be readjusted every time I hit it. But yeah. Let's see if I can not hit the microphone. Means I got to back up. It's going to cramp my style, man. I'm always hunched over like this. I don't know if I can nap without being all hunched over. It's going to mess me up. Because little differences make all the difference. Do I have water? I need to get some water. Starting to get some acid reflux for some reason. Let me get some water. Hold on. You can still hear me, you just can't see me. Okay, I got to get water. Where did I do it? I thought I had a gallon of water sitting out. No. Okay, let's see. I have my very diluted coffee. Why diluted coffee? I can't handle it anymore. Even with low acid coffee, I still have to dilute it. Yeah. I get acid reflux. Or I don't know, maybe I'm just allergic to coffee and just, put up with it for years. Anyways, now this doesn't stay on. What did I miss? Let's see. I'm going to start napping here. I'll let you guys talk in the chat. How's that? Let me see if I can thin this down. It's napping pretty good, actually. Yeah. For road rock, it's pretty good. It's not as good as high-grade hornstone, but I can get coast-to-coast flakes. That means it's good stuff. Because a lot of times these will break up. They won't stay together, especially when they're that thin. And a coast-to-coast flake means it goes all the way across but does not overshoot. See, it went all the way across but did not overshoot. Those are the ones that are good. But archaeologists think those flakes are boring. They'd rather see overshots because they think that's part of the technology. Yeah. Although I was reading an archaeological study the other day, a couple days ago, that actually wasn't bad. I need to start looking into these studies again. It used to be that the consensus was all wrong. Yeah. But they may have been revising themselves. Who knows? That might have just been an unusually good study that when I was reading. Sometimes you find an unusually good study. They don't try to guess or assume that one site will explain what's going on in other sites throughout the area. That's one of the biggest mistakes that archaeologists make, is they generalize. They think one site, informs their guesses for the next site that may be close by. You can't assume that, and they know they can't assume that, but they still do it. The default is to assume that the technology is widespread rather than localized, when it should be the opposite. You should only assume that the technology exists within that site that you're studying, not that it extrapolates to the broader area, unless there's proof that different sites are matching up. Yes, this stuff is good. Another coast to coast. Yeah, so this is high grade stuff. Yep. I'm saying that because the flakes are holding together. A lot of times I can get a long flake, but it'll be in pieces. It won't be all together. It's just, it results in the same good result, but if it's napping that well right now, then when I get down to the nitty-gritty of thinning during the last stages, it'll probably be easier with this high-grade stuff. Which is good. It lifts the spirits to know that, this is probably going to be good. So that positive attitude actually helps the napping. Yeah. I mean, you can pretend that everything's good and maybe that'll work for you, but I can't do that way. I've tried before, like, yeah, this is going to be good no matter what. It's going to be good napping. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, after a few minutes, my brain says, no, you're just fooling yourself, dude. I know you're trying to be positive about everything, but just fooling yourself, dude. And then when you realize that it's not true, your attitude starts to tank, and then you mess up, becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you start out as, okay, this is going to be tough from the beginning, so let me just get serious right away, it tends to work out better with difficult materials. Yeah. Don't expect too much and be very careful. And by very careful, it usually means don't thin it too much. And don't expect too much from the material. Yeah. I broke it. I broke it with a flake from the tip, which is it was a hinge fracture. So a flake from the tip went down. So instead of terminating and feathering out, it dived and took the whole tip off. Just a little bit in the middle. See that little bit sticking out at the bottom? Right there? That was enough to dive through the material. Yeah, unfortunately. Dang it. Just that little bit was enough to dive through the material. Mm-hmm. Dang. That hurts. That's one of the things I don't like. One of the things I most dislike about napping is when I break the tips off. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Any questions in here? Jim Cooper says, I know there's a lot of new practical experimentation studies being done in addition to the more traditional analysis. Yes, very true. I participated in one even for Berkeley. Awesome. Ralph says, I'm just glad that we're still on the green side of the sod. It sounds funny. I don't know what that means, though. Tommy Taylor says, Ralph, the first phone we had growing up was on a party line. Yeah, that's funny. I was on a party line once. I remember when I was little, but it was by accident. Yeah. The phone service wasn't that great in my town, but whenever there was a party line, it was an accident. It wasn't meant to be that way. It's just something goofed up, and we could hear other people talking. People these days don't know what a party line is. Yeah. I remember we went to Boy Scout camp. I was a Boy Scout, and the only phone they had on camp was one of the crank ones. You crank it to generate enough electricity, I guess, to send the signal out. You can't talk very long on that. I guess it would wear. So you crank it. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I used to know how those phones work, but we had a crank phone, and you can call out. But you go to the director, you go to the operator first, and then you get the operator, then the operator will connect you to your party. And that's what we had at Boy Scout camp. And Boy Scouts were usually manning the switchboard. But we could only use it during certain times of the day. And it was mainly to get the schedule, like what's the schedule for chow or whatever. What's the schedule for chow for the day, and where is the canoe race taking place for sure, and all that kind of stuff. It was just for confirmation on scheduling, as far as I remember. Jeez, that was a long time ago. I'm amazed that I remember that. So I've got to be careful with this stuff. It likes to dive. See, so it decreased quite a bit in size. It doesn't look like it likes to dive, but it does. If the flakes feather out nicely, but if you're not careful, I guess, well, it's luck. I could probably be as careful as humanly possible, and luck will still cause a fracture. Bad luck still cause an unexpected fracture. Yeah, although it does dive, it is diving if I go diagonally through there. This way it doesn't. But if I go from end toward the middle, it does dive. It needs a lot of convexity, I suppose. So in the early stages, it's easier to maintain convexity. As it starts to get thin and flat, you lose the convexity. Okay. Let's see here. Joe Rodewald. Does anyone here have advice on heat treating a Waihi jasper? The stuff I've been collecting, it's beautiful but super tough. Yeah, I'd like to know too. Mike Mason says, so some say I'm a millennial, but that word didn't exist for part of my life. Marty asks, are you going to make doo-doo with the rest of that? Yeah, I'm going to make doo-doo with the rest of this. Smallzilla says, I got to head out, Patrick. Work calls. All right. See you next time, Harley. Yep, have a good day at work. Jim Cooper says, Joe, it doesn't take much to overheat it a little more than some jaspers, though I can't give specific temperatures as I heat it in my wood stove under ash and sand. SC says, hi, I'm from New Mexico. Yay. There's no Knappings in New Mexico, in case you want to ask. Mike Mason says, my question was about pitch. You got a good instructional video on birch pitch? Who are you asking, Mike? I don't have an instructional video on birch pitch, but Sean Woods does. Sean Woods on YouTube. Right? Woods with an S. Ferdo Joe says, I just found a can of dead night crawlers in my truck I left in the sun. Crap. Dang it. Joe Rodwald. I'm using a turkey roaster and new to the whole process. What's a good temperature and time frame to start with? Well, first, before you do anything, buy a temperature gauge and install the temperature gauge into the turkey roaster, and don't depend on the temperature on the dial. Once you insulate the lid on a turkey roaster, the interior changes. The interior temperatures change from what's on the dial. Okay? You're going to get 50 degrees to 100 degrees hotter inside the turkey roaster than what it shows on the dial. Okay? So, I have a video, but let me just tell you that you can drill a hole 3/8 inch diameter into the top rim of the turkey roaster, as long as it's not a ceramic pan. If it's a metal pan inside, you can drill it from the outside to the inside, just below the rim, so you don't hit the heating element down in the body of the roaster. If you just stay up in the upper 3/4 of an inch at the top near the rim, you can drill a hole through there. And then you screw in the temperature gauge so that the probe is inside the roaster. You know what I mean? You can buy temperature gauges with 3/8 inch threads from Amazon. Okay, temperature gauge, they go up to 600 degrees or 800 degrees, depending on the model, but you just needed to go up to, like, say, 600, because the turkey roaster won't go past 600. And then once you have a temperature gauge set up, do a test heat. Turn it to, without anything inside, turn it to 250 degrees. 250. Okay? And look at the temperature gauge and see what temperature it is. And then do that for other temperatures. Usually, when I set mine at 250, the reading was 325 on mine. Okay? On the temperature gauge. So that's where I would start. 325 degrees. Okay. Now, a lot of flint and chert heat treats at lower temperatures than 325. But if you only put a few flakes in at a time to experiment with at 325 degrees, if they break up, you're not going to lose your whole batch. You just lose some flakes. So I'd start with 325 degrees and see how that works for your material. Most material under scientific studies reacts at about 400 degrees. Now, this is most. 400 degrees is the average. So that means half react below that and half react above that. Okay? Or thereabouts. So the rule of thumb is, if you want, you can start at 400. I usually start lower to experiment with. Now, with this particular type of material, if it's really, really tough, it probably needs more than 400 degrees Fahrenheit, not Celsius or centigrade, because people have made that mistake and they buy temperature gauges in centigrade and whatever. No, Fahrenheit. You can start at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for heat treating if you have really tough material. Okay. Now, with all that said, you need to use dry stone. So if you think your stone might be waterlogged with water, you need to dry it out, either in the sun or somewhere dry, like in your house, for, at least a week. Now, if you can use the turkey roaster to dry it out. And what I do is I set it to 200 degrees, or let's say the temperature gauge, not temperature gauge, the dial on the turkey roaster starts at 100. Just start a little bit below that and look at the temperature gauge and see if that's around 200. On my turkey roaster, I got to set the dial less than 100 degrees on the turkey roaster to get 200 on the temperature gauge. Okay, so you need to experiment. So 200 degrees at 24 hours to dry out stone is my general rule. Sometimes it takes longer. How do you know if your stone is dry? The only way to know is by weighing it. Weigh the stone, like the bigger the stone, the better for weighing purposes. Okay, you weigh the stone. Don't make sure it's not more than an inch thick because you're going to put it in the roaster. Anything thicker than an inch thick, you're going to risk blowing it up. So inch thick, it can be any length, but an inch thick is the max that I recommend. You take your stone, put it in the roaster, 200 degrees for 24 hours. Wait, a certain amount of time before you take it out. Don't take it out fast, maybe 3 hours, so it cools down to room temperature or whatever. Take it out and weigh it and compare the weights before and after. If there's no loss in weight, it's dry. But if you see a drop in the weight, that means there was water in it. Try it again and then take it out after heating it for another 24 hours. If it stays the same weight, then you know that the 24 hours was good enough. Okay, so then you know how long it takes to dry your material. And that kind of thing. You've got to be in the experimental mind frame. Okay, so with that particular type of stone that's really tough, it probably will heat treat at temperatures above 400 degrees Fahrenheit and maybe even require 500 degrees Fahrenheit or more. Let's say you are experimenting and you've done everything to get it up to, the final test at the maximum on the dial of the roaster, and then the temperature gauge says 550. And you leave it in there for 4 hours, which is what I recommend, and then take it out after 12 hours of cooling or whatever, and then you try knapping it and nothing's changed. Either the stone does not react to heat, or you need hotter than 550 degrees Fahrenheit. If you need hotter than 550 degrees, you need to get a kiln or find someone that has a kiln, Kiln, to heat it for you. Sometimes some stone requires 600 to 750 degrees Fahrenheit to become knappable. Okay? All right. Let's see. It's already 4:02. I've gone over my time. Yep. I'm going to say good night or good day or good afternoon very soon. The Yeepers, what's up, Rizzy boys? Can I riz your... I don't understand what that is. I might put you in timeout. Yeah, I don't know who you are, so I might put you in timeout. Where did Mike go? Let's see. Where am I? Rob Sefton asks, do you know if flint or chert can be ground into a powder and then formed like clay and fired to make new flint? Yeah, the Romans did that. But it's not new flint. It's like a form of concrete, or it's almost like glass making. But if you look, I think you can do research on powdered flint, using powdered flint. The Romans, during the Roman classical period, in the period of Rome, old stuff, they came up with the method, or they perfected it. They may not have come up with it, but they've perfected it, and it can be used to make vessels. Now, is that material knappable? I don't know. You'll have to be the one to try that out. I am assuming it is, but I don't know. But yes, it can be ground to a powder and then formed like clay and then fired into something. that resembles pottery or glass, but I don't know if it can be knapped. I don't know how well it is as far as, I mean, I don't know how well it does, although I'm assuming it does fairly well because you can knap pottery and you can knap glass. All right. Ed says, talk with an uncle at 95 you feel. Oops, my battery is starting to quit on my computer, so I got to call it a night very soon. Mike Mason says, I'm asking Patrick about birch pitch. Yeah, just look at Sean Wood's YouTube channel if he still has it up and do a search. Sean Wood's birch tar or something like that. Yeah, Sean Woods. All right, Ed Gould is heading out. See you later, Ed. Jim Cooper says, yeah, Dave Canterbury has one too. It's pretty simple. Yep. Rhino knot. I've been wanting to get into punch work, but struggling to find good antler. Has anyone tried using other materials for punches? Yeah, copper. Now, if you want natural materials, use bone. What's the best bone you can use? I'd use pig bone. And it's also readily available at pet stores or even grocery stores under the pet aisle. Get pig bone. That seems to be the hardest bone that you can use for punches. But you can also find antler at pet stores as antler chews. Okay? And it's usually good quality antler. You're going to pay a lot of money for it, but it's good quality stuff. Go to Petco. You can use cow bone for punches too, but I find that it splits and cracks easily. Okay, let's see. Char cloth. Okay. Joe Rodwald. Let's see. Where am I? I lost my place. Thanks, Patrick. I really appreciate the answer. You're welcome. The next live stream is Friday night, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Rob says, thank you very much, Pat. We love your videos. Thank you. I'm glad you like them. I'm going to head out, says Bill Taylor. All right. We'll see you next time, Bill. Stidley Designs. Bye-bye. Marty, good day. See you next time. Wow, that was seriously interesting about fired flint. Yeah. I wish I could tell you exactly what it's called. There's a name for that. The material that the Romans were making. Yeah. It's the precursor to making glass. I mean, from that technology, they started making glass. It's a similar process. Let's see. Okay. Yep. See you later, guys. I'm going to close out the live stream, and we'll see you on Friday. Yep. Take care, everybody. See you later, Mike Tufts. All the Mikes. Thanks. I mean, Mike, Red-Eyed Patriot is not in the house, so can't say goodbye to him. But yeah, everybody else. Mike Mason says, I've had about 5 to 6 weeks. I'm going to need to figure it out. Yep. All right, everybody. Good to see everybody. Thank you. And we'll see you on Friday. All righty? Okay. Bye-bye.